Welcome back, everyone, to Legal Matters. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and with me now is Mark Brynteson. He's the new managing attorney with the American law firm. As I mentioned earlier tonight, Legal Matters is a half-hour informational news call-in show devoted to a variety of legal topics of interest to area viewers. There are attorneys standing by now to take your call at the number on your screen, 815-394-1776. They'll be able to provide you with free information regarding your issue. So call now and throughout the next hour. Now, tonight's opening statement. We take a look at Personal Injury 101. Attorney Brynteson will guide us through the important aspects of each topic. But first, let's remind you of the multiple practice areas that the American law firm concentrates in. American Law Firm is a general practice law firm that concentrates in divorce and family law cases, bankruptcy matters, personal injury claims, criminal traffic and DUI issues, along with wills, trust and probate matters, real estate and business transactions, and immigration and naturalization services. So feel free to call now and discuss any of these areas with attorneys who are standing by. Well, before we get started tonight, let's introduce you to Mark Brynteson, born and raised right here in the Rockford area. Mark?
Yes, I was. I've been practicing law for 30 years. I actually moved out of the area and lived in Virginia Beach, Virginia for several years, and that's where I practiced the majority of the time, and now I'm back and enjoying being back by family.
Well, good. Well, welcome to the area. Welcome back to the area.
Well, thank you.
And welcome to American Law Firm. Well, let's start tonight. We're talking with Personal Injury 101. Do you really need an attorney when you have a personal injury case?
You know, common to popular belief, you don't need an attorney for every personal injury case. The reason is there's a threshold that I look for in every case that you have to be above, or I don't feel I can help you. I'll take money out of your pocket instead of putting money into your pocket. So what I look for is property damage, medical bills, and the type of injury. If you are above that threshold, I can help you. If not, I'll tell you. But also, I'm willing to help you understand the claims process so that you can put a demand package together. And for a small fee, I'll help you evaluate the claim and put a value on it so that you know where you're going when you talk with the adjuster about settlement.
Okay, so you have a budget so people know what they're going to be dealing with.
Exactly. The adjusters are highly trained and you're not, so you need to understand what's going on.
Okay. What's the most interesting case that you run into dealing with property and physical injury?
Actually, I think most personal injury attorneys will tell you the most challenging case that there is the low impact, not too much damage to the car collision. The reason is you actually can get nastier injuries from that than a high injury or a high impact collision. The reason is cars today are made with energy absorbent zones, and if the collision isn't hard enough, it won't activate them, so the energy won't be dissipated before it gets to the person. And I've seen collisions that have been anywhere from 25 to 15 miles an hour that have produced fractures in the vertebrae, torn neck muscles, fractures to the larynx, the trachea, tears in the esophagus. So the low impact can really produce a significant injury because those crinkle zones won't engage and take care of the force before it gets to you. Think of it this way. Even if it's a 15 to 20 mile an hour collision, consider if you were standing between those two cars. Mm-hmm. Your knees, your legs would be crushed. That's the same force that comes in and throws the person around in the car.
Okay. But do you necessarily, I guess, have a personal injury case even if you are hurt?
No, a lot of people will come in and inquire. They're hurt. They think they should get money as a result of being injured. That's not the case. Somebody legally is required to act carelessly. And if they don't act carelessly as the law defines it, then you don't have any case. And if you don't, I'm going to tell you, because you don't need to waste your time going after a case where you're not going to get anything.
Mm-hmm. What does an individual need to know to settle a personal injury case?
Well, first off, you really need to see a seasoned personal injury attorney. You would need to understand the claims process. You need to understand what's involved in trying to value the claim and all the trap doors that are involved. The reason is the adjuster knows about them. One example of a trap door, if you don't know about it, it's gonna hurt you. State law in Illinois, or Illinois state law, requires that a hospital or your health insurance can be paid back out of the settlement. So if your health insurance pays medical bills, they'll want you to pay them back out of the settlement. So you need to ask for a certain amount above what they're giving to you to make sure that you can pay that health lien back. And if you don't do it and you don't know about it and you settle for less than what you should, you don't get anything.
That's an important thing to remember.
And that's
Yeah.
one of many trap doors.
Okay. So what do you have to do then to prove your case?
You need to have an injury, somebody needs to be careless, and that caused your injury, and medical bills, and pain and suffering. You need to have all that put together. So that's really the key to it, and it has to be a legitimate injury.
Okay. Well, we have more to come, so we'll be discussing this further with Mark Brynteson. And don't forget to, attorneys are standing by now to take your call at 394-1776. Call the number on your screen and get your question answered right now. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Alan Jones. With me is attorney Mark Brynteson with the American law firm, and you're watching Legal Matters, an informational and news call-in show devoted to a variety of legal topics. There are attorneys standing by right now to take your call at the number on your screen. It's 815-394-1776. They'll be able to provide you with free information regarding your legal issue, so call now. Lawyers will be standing by until 7:30 tonight. So let's get back to the questioning for Mark tonight. Today we're talking a little bit about personal injury and insurance. So have insurance companies tried to sway individuals regarding their cases?
Oh yes, there's been several cases where there's been bad faith lawsuits against the companies for doing just that. The companies back in 1950 actually started a campaign to try to denigrate people who were injured in accidents and their attorneys. And it's been continuing throughout the day. And they've basically done it by mischaracterizing several significant lawsuits, actually lying about them. They misstated the facts terribly.
So let's talk about one in particular. I think it's a pretty high-profile case. Everybody's heard about the McDonald's hot coffee case. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, initially, 60 Minutes did a special on that case, and it was several years ago. And the jurors that were on that case were so upset they called 60 Minutes, and the next week 60 Minutes ran another special with the jurors' perspective. And in that particular case, the insurance companies and big business said, hey, somebody spilled coffee on their lap and they got $1 million. Well, that's not what happened. McDonald's actually, the coffee was 50 degrees warmer than most coffees are served in fast food restaurants. Number two, the McDonald's had 700 claims before that of people being injured because the coffee was too hot. Now the law in about every state says if you have notice that your product is causing injury, you need to do something about it. They refused. In this particular case, the woman spilled coffee on her lap. She had about 8 skin graft surgeries. It was very, very nasty injury. All she wanted initially to settle was $20,000. That was the amount of out-of-pocket deductibles, copays. She didn't want any pain and suffering, and McDonald's refused to do anything.
Wow.
So she sued. The jury returned a verdict, and the jury wanted people to know on the second 60 Minutes show, here's all the stuff you didn't tell them in the first show, which made a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not too many people understand or even heard about, like you said, all the other context, I guess.
The context is important.
And that's an important part of it,
Yes,
along with many other cases, I'm sure, that you've heard about and have dealt with.
Yeah. Well, one of the other famous ones is a phone booth case. There was a janitor who was making $7,300 a year. He was in a phone booth making a call, and a drunk driver came down, ran him over, and he lost his leg. Mm-hmm. And he also sued the phone company that owned the booth, the phone booth. And everybody said, well, look what he did. He went after the phone booth company. That wasn't right. It was the drunk driver's fault. The problem was, about 20 months earlier, that phone booth had notice on, the phone company had notice on several occasions that the latch mechanism on that phone booth was faulty and people were getting stuck in it. And they wouldn't fix it. They had 20 months to fix that phone booth, and they didn't. And there were witnesses at the scene as the car came toward this poor guy. They saw him frantically trying to get out of the phone booth, and he couldn't. And they watched him get mowed down. If he had plenty of time to get out if the latch would have been working properly. So you don't hear that part of it.
Yeah. And it goes on and on. I'm sure context is very important no matter what the case
Absolutely.
involves. We'll check things out. Okay, let's get into another question. Mistakes. There are mistakes that people make all the time regarding things like this, I'm sure. There are mistakes to be made on all sides of it, right?
Oh, yes. One of the mistakes people make is over-representing their injury or not seeing a doctor right away and getting the proper care. When you're hurt, you need to get into the doctor, be treated, and make sure that you get the right treatment for the injury. You don't want to be over-treated or under-treated. You want to be treated by a professional that can give you the information that you need.
Okay, so be truthful. Honesty is the best policy. In a lot of cases, you don't want to be dishonest with your attorney either.
Well, that's correct. One of the common, and when clients come in or potential clients come in and talk with me, they'll start talking about past injuries and I need to tell the insurance company about them. And I say, that's no problem. Let's tell them about it because I can give you an example. I had a client recently where the L4 and the L5 vertebrae, but a couple of years before this accident, she had problems at the L4 level, which that's a different nerve set, different muscles. And in this accident, she had it at the L5 level, and she had to have an injection because of the pain. That's a totally different area. The insurance company and the defense attorney tried to link the two together, but they're two distinct anatomical parts of the body. They're not connected. And so if the attorney knows about a prior injury, he can disconnect them and have the treating doctor take care of explaining to the jury why they're not connected and separate them out.
Oh, okay. Very interesting, Mark. Mark Brynteson, thanks for your input on physical injury and personal injury. And thank you for being part of American Law Firm and Legal Matters tonight. So I'll have more coming up later. Be sure and call now at 394-1776 and get your questions answered.